Hello, my name is Manton. I've been wanting to do a video for a while that shows how I personally use Micro.blog. I think maybe it'll help give people some ideas of the different features that are there that they may not know about. So I'm just going to kind of walk through this. I don't know how long this will be, and I don't have it scripted out, so I might be a little bit of rambling and clicking around, but hopefully it's useful if you're interested in Micro.blog. To demo this, I am going to have two browser tabs open. I got Micro.blog in this window, the web version, and I have my own blog over here. Go back to the home page. I don't always use the web version of Micro.blog, to be honest. I often use the Mac app or the iOS app, but to keep it simple, I'm just going to use the web version only. I use the iPhone app a lot for like posting photos and the Mac app for maybe writing longer posts. So I'm going to go through just basically everything in this side menu in Micro.blog. So this is, of course, the timeline just to get started in Micro.blog of who you're following. I have Micro.blog users. I also have Mastodon users. I'm following a few of those in here. So those pop up in the timeline also, and I can reply to them. That'll go back to Mastodon or just to Micro.blog if it's a Micro.blog user. The very first thing at the top is new post. Start writing a post. Again, I usually use the Mac app, but this works totally fine too. We also added like shortcuts for like bold and italics and stuff. We have markdown, syntax, highlighting, links and things like that. You can attach a photo here. Because I have Micro.blog Premium, I also have a little button here to upload an audio file for a podcast. This is my main blog, manton.org. I don't have a podcast for it, but I have a separate blog that is a podcast. So that's useful for that. So simple, type some stuff, hit post. If you type over 300 characters, it'll show a title field and turn it into more of a full blog post. Great. So let's go to the next thing is mentions. Of course, that just shows mentions that I've had. I have some today. I can reply to them. I can click to view the full conversation. Started with one of my posts and I got a couple replies. That's pretty self-explanatory. Recently, we changed direct messages from Mastodon because Mastodon was having a spam problem, and I realized the way we were handling it was actually not great. So now they're over here. You can click to view any direct messages you have for Mastodon if you have those. We don't really have direct messaging in Micro.blog. It's not a feature I think all blogging platforms and social networks need, but just in case you get a private message elsewhere, that's where it is now. Next thing, bookmarks. Bookmarks, I'm using this more and more. It started at the very early days as Micro.blog. It started as just like a way to favorite things. And there was actually some confusion with that because one of the design goals with Micro.blog is there are no public likes. So you don't like something to send a message to someone that you saw the thing or that you liked it. There's no like counts. There's no popularity thing involved. So we renamed it bookmarks because they're really private for you to keep track of things that you like, you want to get back to, you want to read later. And so we've expanded that a lot too. So if you're using Micro.blog Premium, you get some different tabs up here, which I'll kind of explain. You can bookmark any website, not just like a post. So like if I'm in the timeline, I'll click back to the timeline. If I really, liked, this post or something, I could hit bookmark and then it would appear in the bookmarks page. But I'm often bookmarking other things. So this is a Mastodon post I bookmarked. These are just websites that I bookmarked because there were things that I wanted to read. And what Micro.blog does for anything you bookmark is it tries to download the text and actually in images and CSS and things in it too, so that you can have an offline copy and also so you can just read it. So like if this read interface, I'll click on that, and this shows just like a simple view of the of the blog post, and then I can go in and like select some text and highlight it, and then I can go like over to highlights and I can see all the things that I've highlighted. So that's the thing I just highlighted. It says what blog post that was from. I can also hit new post and it'll just start a blog post, so I can link to it and comment, say something about it. So I find I'm using this more and more, and I've moved to this instead of services like Instapaper. But that's a Micro.blog premium feature. If you didn't know about it, it's pretty handy. What else is in this? No, that's the main thing with bookmarks. I can search bookmarks too. I can search all of my highlights. So that's bookmarks. The next thing is Discover. This is where we feature things across the Micro.blog community. This is a hand-curated section. It's not algorithm. It's not what's popular. It's just what's kind of happening now, a snapshot of things in the Micro.blog timeline. So it's a great way to scroll through and discover new people to follow. You can reply and bookmark and that sort of thing right in here too. We also collect posts into different categories based on emoji. So that's a convenient way also to go and kind of dive into a subject and maybe find some people to follow or some interesting posts. So that is Discover. Discover also has a search box. This is a great place if you need to like follow someone on another service like Mastodon. You can enter their name here, or you need to find a user or a post that's been in Discover. Next thing, so this first section, these like items are like, this is kind of like the social network part of Micro.blog. And this next section is kind of like, this is your blog. And so I have posts, pages, uploads. I have these different kind of sections of my blog to manage it. So this is, if you used WordPress, this is kind of like the part that's like the WordPress admin, essentially. So I click on posts. I can, just see my blog posts. Of course, I can edit them. No problem there. There's like a little collapsed view. Don't really use this very often. I'd like to actually do more with this so that you can maybe act on different posts at once and that sort of thing. Of course, I can search through all my posts, find things, delete them. Pretty self-explanatory. I can click up over here to like change my blog or export posts, import posts, that sort of thing. Pages are standalone pages. So I have a bunch in here, mostly just, like here's my about page. It says kind of who I am. Some of them are longer. Like I've had things that, I wanted to write about or whatever. And some of these I don't link on my blog. So there's this option, include this page in your blog notification. I only include a few things. So let me click back onto my blog. So I only include a few things here. I have about, archive, photos, some basic things, the new tweets that I imported all my tweets from is there. And so, but a lot of posts I don't really want up there. I don't want it cluttered. So I have, I don't know, maybe 15, 20 pages, but only a handful of them are actually on my blog, and the rest I link somewhere else. I also have a couple redirects. You can create a new page, you can create a new redirect. And there were a couple pages on my old blog years and years ago that I lost somehow, or I didn't want to maintain on my new blog. I can't remember exactly why. But so instead, I just redirect those old paths to the Internet Archive if someone really, really found an old link that they wanted to follow, just to make sure that links don't break. So that's post pages. That's the main thing you'll interact with a lot. Uploads is where all the photos and different things go. It's mostly photos that I post. You can click, click on the time, and it'll go right to the blog post that I made. There's also some, like this is, every once in a while I'll post something that's not a photo, and this is like an HTML file. I had captured like a chat GPT that I actually wanted to put on my blog, and so I could link to it. And so I just uploaded it to Micro.blog, and it also is in the uploads folder. I can copy the HTML if I need to paste it into another page, the image link. So that's a convenient way to manage my photos. And then categories. I don't use categories that it might look like I use them a lot, but I don't really use them that much. I have a handful of categories that I'll put posts in. And then I have some types of posts that are automatically categorized. And so as an example, you'll have this link down here. It says filter new uploaded photos into a category called photos. If you have a category called photo or photos or photography, anything a little bit like that, this will appear. And then, yeah, any photo you post will automatically go into photos. So you can see I have 850 posts that have been into photos. Other things I do a lot, like books. If I've written about a book that I'm reading, coffee, and I can click on that, and I can also see, all the posts that I've made, mostly from coffee shops. And so, how does the automatic thing work? If I click on Edit Filters, it's kind of hidden down here, so easy to miss. But it's actually a really powerful feature. I think it's pretty unique. I'm not sure if other blogging systems have this. But it'll assign a category to a couple things that I post about kind of often and I care about. So, for example, this one, so this is the image, this is the photos one. If you click that checkbox, if there's an image tag, just automatically put that into the photos blog post category. If the book emoji is included, automatically put it into the books category. And this just runs automatically every time you post. There's also a run filter, which is really only needed the very first time you create a filter. It'll just go back to all your old posts and also run the filter on them. So I can create a new filter. I haven't created a new filter in a really long time, but this is what it is. If the blog post title contains this, or if the text of the blog post contains this, if it's any kind of post or a short microblog post, set a category. Pretty simple. Once it's set up, it just works and you can kind of forget about it. So that is categories. Every category, if I click on the category, I can edit the name, of course, and they also all have RSS feeds. So convenient if you wanted to show people how to subscribe to just a certain section of your blog. So like, for example, I have this category called essays, and it's kind of a fancy way of just saying these are long things that I wrote. And so some people, maybe they just don't want to see all my little short posts. Totally understand. They could subscribe to the essays category and just see the big ones every once in a while. Okay, categories. So design is the next section. There's a couple things up here. Because I do have a Micro.blog Premium, it thinks I might want a podcast. So it has like, what podcast, category do you want? And what's the author name? I don't actually use this, but it's up here anyway. My site name is just Manton, but in theory, I could call it something else. This is the theme I'm using. I actually have a custom theme that I've set where I've overridden some different templates for just little things that I wanted to tweak on my blog. CSS is the same way. If I edit CSS, I have just some random CSS that I've tweaked. Some of this actually I need to clean up because it's already been rolled into the official theme. But this is an editor in Micro.blog where I can type in some new CSS, background colors, links, whatever here, and then when I hit update, it'll publish to my blog and reload the right pane. So I can kind of see, it's not real time, but it's pretty quick. So I can see what the changes look like. I'm going to do that right now because that's my actual blog and don't want to mess it up. A couple other options. I don't paginate my homepage and those kind of things. I do include a conversation on the post page. So like, what does that look like? If I go back to my homepage, this was that conversation I was looking at earlier where I was talking about the MBA. If I click on that, I see replies, and some of these are coming from Mastodon, some of these are coming from Micro.blog. They could be coming from other people's blogs as well if they replied to this post. So that's what that conversation link includes. I also have the CDN checked. I used to really like having all my images actually at my own domain name. I just thought that was very clean and simple and also good for portability. But lately, I've come around to just, it's faster if we use a CDN. So for other people. So I have that enabled right now. And you can just disable it or enable it. Of course, that's my domain name. I do have this checked. Save new post to Internet Archive. I wish we could make this the default. I think everyone should have this checked. And maybe we should prompt like, hey, you should enable this. We don't, because someone might have like a kind of blog they don't really want copies out there or people to really know about. It's like not private, but it's just kind of like off in the corner of the internet. So you have to enable this, but I strongly recommend you enable this because if anything happens to your blog, you know that the Internet Archive has a copy. The way this works is every time you post to your blog, the Micro.blog automatically saves that new blog post to the Internet Archive. Yeah, it waits like a few minutes and then it pings the Internet Archive and asks it to save the URL so that it's in their database. Great, so that's the design section. Plugins. I have some different plugins to customize my blog. Of course, the theme, a couple fun plugins like the Surprise Me. I don't think I linked to that. Do I link to that? Let me click back on my blog. Maybe I linked to it at the bottom. Bottom of my blog. Yeah, Surprise Me. So that just like randomly picks a blog post. This one was from a few years ago. Cool. It's kind of fun. And then I have some other plugins, meta tags, book reading goals. I'll talk about some book stuff in a minute. The Twitter archive that I showed briefly. So just some different plugins. Of course, if I want more, I can click Find Plugins and find different themes to install. That's plugins. Newsletter. This is also a Micro.blog premium feature. I have this enabled. I actually really like this. Of course, I like my own features. I know that sounds silly, but I have it enabled, and the way it works is there's a couple different options, but I have it set to collect all of my blog posts into a single email that sends out to subscribers the first day of the week, Monday. And that way, people who don't use RSS, who don't use social media, they don't know. They just want to kind of see every once in a while things I post. They can subscribe. They get an email in the inbox, and it has all my blog posts collected in it. So if I go to settings, I have it set to send the email newsletter an hour after it's ready to go. So Micro.blog collects all those posts. It makes a draft of what the email is going to look like. It sends it to me only. And then that way, like if I don't like something in it, I could edit it. And then if I don't do anything, an hour later, it goes out to subscribers. I think we'll do more with this. I know we'll do more with this. Not totally sure what, but I've gotten some great feedback on the email newsletter feature. All right, so that is all of the main like hosted blog features. For podcasts, you'll also get a transcripts link in here. I don't have that because I don't have a podcast on this blog, but we'll automatically transcribe your podcast and you'll get a transcriptions link too. So account is just for like my account settings. This is also where you edit the feeds for your account. And there's a lot of confusion about this, so I'll click on it and show how mine's configured. Essentially, every Micro.blog account is kind of driven from different feeds. These feeds are not feeds I'm subscribed to like a feed reader. These are feeds that contain the posts that I actually wrote. So right now I just have one, but you can add as many as you want, essentially. So I just have one that is the JSON feed for my main blog. So every time I post to my blog, it goes to my blog, goes to the feed, and then Micro.blog sees that post and adds it to the timeline and also cross-posts it to other services. So these are the services we support. Currently, I only have Twitter and Blue Sky enabled. Twitter is going away in a couple months as I record this, and I just have this set up to a test account on Twitter, just so that I was just testing it recently, and I wanted to make sure it was working. I'll just go ahead and disable that actually, because I no longer need that for testing. So I don't have these other ones enabled, but some people like to cross-post to Mastodon. I don't have that enabled because you can follow my blog for Mastodon without it. But if I had a separate Mastodon account that I used, I guess I could make a copy to Mastodon. A lot of people prefer that. Medium, LinkedIn, Tumblr, Flickr, cross-post your photos there. And then Blue Sky is the new one that I have set up. You can add, so why would you want to add multiple feeds? Some people add a second feed that's like a second blog, like maybe they have Micro.blog and WordPress. You add your WordPress feed here, and then all your WordPress posts will appear in Micro.blog, and they could also be cross-posted out if they want. You could also set this to import them into Micro.blog or just keep a reference, in the timeline to the external blog. But other things like people use Letterbox for, keeping track of movies that they watch and stuff. You can add the RSS feed for that. And then those like movie posts appear, things like that. It's actually pretty handy. Some people have a whole, like 3 or 4 or 5 feeds in their account. I just have the one because I put everything on my blog. There's a couple of little things hidden away over here. Save bookmarks, go in your unique read later feed. The bookmark, so that feed, I actually put that into NetNewsWire where I read all my other blog feeds. And what that does is when I bookmark something, it actually will then appear in my newsreader. So maybe I want to read it in my newsreader, offline. And 2 things will actually appear in there. One, the thing I bookmarked, and then also this text-only version will also appear in my feed reader. So that's just kind of handy to have an extra copy somewhere else. All right, back to accounts, edit feeds. Did I miss anything? No, that's basically it. So this is a little bit confusing, a little bit unique compared to other networks, but it's also super flexible. By default, you don't really need to ever mess with this. But again, if you have multiple blogs, for example, you could add feeds from different places for posts that you wrote, and then you could also control where they go out. So pretty handy. The next thing on the sidebar is plans. This is just for adding a new blog on my account or upgrading. I can also click through to register domain name, view my subscriptions and what I'm paying for. Replies is replies I wrote, and I can go back and edit them if they're recent. Can delete them. And then bookshelves, last thing here, except for the help link. This is really fun. I use this a lot. We also have a companion app called Epilogue, and this is just where I keep track of books I'm reading or books that I want to read. And this is very much like Goodreads. And the reason we put this in a Micro.blog is, well, I love books, and a lot of people on Micro.blog love books. So I think that's reason enough. But the other reason, really the most important reason is I think more people should consider posting books, information about books, what they want to read to their blog to have control over that data. And so we do a couple things like to make that easy. So I can search for books that I want to read. These are the books I'm currently reading right now. And then, for example, there's a link to move it to finished reading if I'm finished, or if I hit new post. It's kind of similar to that bookmark, the highlight link. We just make a new draft blog post, link to the book, add a little books emoji, and then I can, of course, change this. I can add, I love this book. Haven't actually finished this one. And then I can post it to my blog. Super easy. It's just like one click. So that's a nice part of having it all integrated into Micro.blog. The other thing is these are private, but it's super easy to, of course, share an individual book link to your blog or to include the whole thing. So like this want to read list of books that I want to read. If I hear about a book, I'll often just add it to this so I don't forget about it. Might be interesting to someone else, so I can actually include this on my blog too. So if I hit the little info button, it says, this is the site, this is the blog that I'm connecting it to, and then include books on page. So I don't actually have this one configured. Let me do want to read. This is one that I have configured. Include books on page, want to read. So this is, again, these are those pages that we were looking at. I basically created just a page. Let me just go to it. Pages, want to read. And the page says, these are the books I currently want to read. And that's it. But what Micro.blog does with that bookshelves configuration is that it takes all the books in the list and adds them to the page. So if I go to my reading page, this is a separate page, and then I link to I want to read, and then this has that text, and then Micro.blog has added all the book links with the little book thumbnails. The main you could have both links up here. I just have this one called reading. And so I'll show you what that looks like if I go to pages, reading. Again, I just have some basic text and a couple links. And then over in Bookshelves, currently reading, that's where I have that set. So Micro.blog will automatically, anytime I add something to this book, to this bookshelf, it'll republish this page. So hopefully that made sense. You have to jump around a little bit to configure it, but once it's set up, it just works. So that is a lot of how I use Micro.blog for my own site. Now, speaking of books, and I hope you learned something from this. It's not every feature of Micro.blog, but this actually, I feel like I covered a lot of the different parts of Micro.blog, and I hope you enjoy the platform. We'll keep making it better. Thanks very much.